Hey guys, welcome to the Lincoln County Podcast. Today we're sitting down to chat with Julie, and we're going to talk a little bit about her and what she does and being a business owner living in Lincoln County. So thanks for joining us. Julie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Julie Forster. I own Crafty Midwestern Mommy in Troy. So we are a boutique style custom apparel shop. So we mainly specialize in machine embroidery, but also do printed apparel as well as all kinds of other things.
Yeah, because you've got like almost a full craft store in there as well.
Correct. So I sell fabric and notions for my fellow crafters and sewists, and that is because I ended up doing YouTube videos and teaching other people what I do. So now I sell the stuff that they need to be successful as well.
So how did you? I know we've talked about it before in like passing, but like how did it all get started with the store? With you having like an actual brick and mortar storefront and taking it from where it started to now?
So my mom has been a crafty person her entire life. So I grew up around it. I grew up in a fabric store. One of my first jobs was in a fabric store, and I always thought it was cool. I really enjoyed it. When I started having kids, I wanted to make the stuff instead of just buy it off of Etsy. I was like, I know I can do it. I just have to do it. So when I was working at the fabric store during college, I didn't work for a paycheck. I worked for a machine. So my paycheck would just be the payment of my machine. And I had that machine for maybe 6 months and told my husband, I really want a bigger machine. And he said, why? And I said it would just be easier for the apparel part. You can do a lot of things with a domestic machine, but you can do a lot more with industrial machine. So we got the industrial machine when we moved to Lincoln County. I got my domestic machine when I was pregnant with our littlest. So Jet, if you've been in the store, he's the little mascot. But by the time we moved to Lincoln County, he was born. He was 11 days old when we moved in. And by that was August, and by March, we had the big machine. And by the following March, we had the storefront. So
nice.
It was always a dream to. I feel like that was the big step to move it from, this is just a hobby, to a real business. I felt like people would take me more seriously with a business.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely been there with stuff to where it's like, okay, I'm doing this and I know I'm a business, but I need to do like maybe a couple other things to be taken seriously.
Right. So I had literally one business account when I ran it out of my house. I had a ton of custom gifts. I really specialized in hooded bath towels and things for your children, but I didn't really have that like big orders of the same thing for businesses. So once I got the storefront, that really helped, I think. And then within probably 6 months to a year of the storefront, we got a second machine, and now we're on year 5 of the business, year 3 of brick and mortar, and we have 3 machines, and those suckers are running all the time.
Well, what's interesting too that you said is, when you worked for crafts, you didn't take paycheck, you worked for a machine. And I think that's something that people come across in business sometimes, where they're so worried about the paycheck, not really about what they're getting out of it.
Correct.
Which is such an old school mindset of, the apprenticeship and learning a trade. And, sometimes you won't get paid for everything.
Yeah.
But you're going to learn something. In this case, you got a machine, which then you were able to take and turn into a full business. And I feel that's something that just so many people shoot themselves in the foot on. There were times that I did stuff and would go in and help weekends for different clients, and oh, cool, you got that sander over there, or this sprayer, or this or that, and I was never afraid in the beginning to trade for things.
I think that's huge. I actually saw a meme about this today, like it said something to the effect of, don't ever hesitate to ask me if you want to trade for something.
Yeah.
Because that's huge. That's how you get your name out there, I think. But one thing that I feel is important is When I started my business and stuff, I really did start it as a hobby. And when I decided to make that step of getting that industrial machine and kind of taking it full front, it was offered to me at 0% financing for an extended period of time. And my husband was very supportive and said, that's fine as long as your business can make the payment on the machine. So our family is not reliant on my income. His income pays for all of our bills and stuff. And so I said, we're on year 5 of this business, and last September was the first time I ever wrote myself a paycheck. So we've never done it for the money. And I tell people all the time, which maybe I shouldn't, but I would do what I do for free every single day because it's what I love to do. So when we have some partnerships with like some police organizations, a new non-for-profit that's coming abroad. Like he asked me, well, how much do I owe you for the hat for the officer? Nothing. Like that officer was just injured protecting us. I'm going to give you my skills for free. Like, I think that's huge. Like, and I don't do that to get my name out there. I do that because it's what I love to do.
Well, and I think too, people, I don't believe all the way in the saying of find what you love and you'll learn a way to make money at it, because there are things out there that just don't make any damn money, to be honest. But so many people get into business and think like, oh, I've been doing this for 30 days. I need a check. Yeah. You can't always do that. You've got to, there are L's to take. My only rule, like when the martial arts school was new and wasn't doing a lot of business, I had some struggles, some ups and downs, was as long as I don't ever have to take money out of our personal budget. Yep. Because I had a full-time job, Casey had a full-time job. As long as I'm not supporting it, I'll keep it open. As long as it's able to pay its bills and I never have to loan it money. And when I was younger and single and first opened it, I would pay for stuff. I'd go paint a house on the weekend and pay something because it was just me. Yeah. But once it became a family, that was my rule, is if it ever started costing money, then I would close immediately. Yep, I watched too many people drag their families down trying to save a bad business model or bad execution. And so that's great that you were able to do that and make it into a full-time business.
Yep, and that was Drew's thing. He said, just as long as it doesn't cost our family anything, and it never has. We actually ended up paying the first machine off early. I know the financial gurus watching this would say, it was 0%. Why'd you pay it off? I know, but like for me, it was a mental thing. It was like a pride thing. Like I knew that I had those funds that I could pay it off, and I could say that my business was debt free.
I find myself doing that when I've talked to different financial people, and we discuss the fact, like, I pay cash for all the vans. Yeah. Every single piece of equipment for Boyer Painting is paid for, every sprayer, everything, nothing's on credit. They're like, oh, what did you have for it? It's like, I just can't. I'm not that I love debt person. Right.
And the only quote unquote debt that my business has is I use an airline's credit card for all of my purchases because I fly 2 times a year to teach classes on the East Coast, so it pays for that. And I pay it off every month. So.
And there's nothing wrong with that. We all do that, use credit cards and stuff. But I agree with you. There's been times that I'm like, well, I could just pay for this and not go through the hassle of borrowing money on it. And that's not the way they tell you to do it. Right. But it prides me to do that.
That's my thing. Is I'm like, it means the world to me, especially in today's society.
Yes.
And being a, I guess you could consider me a millennial. Like, so much of my generation is all about the debt. And I'm like, no. My favorite thing is on Thursdays, my mom is in the store. And people will go up to her thinking it's her store. And she's like, nope, this is all her. Like, my parents are very supportive of me, but, like, my mom and dad didn't give me any money to help keep this afloat. I remember when I first opened, my mom making a purchase and my dad saying, now remember, you're not the one that has to keep her in business type thing. And he wasn't saying it negatively. He was just saying, like, I think kind of my thing is I'm easily motivated by doubters. Mm-hmm. So you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I come across too. Even now, when I opened the Taekwondo school, I was 28. I looked about 22, 21, if that. And people would come in all the time. And my dad was up there, and he was retired, so he'd sit in the office for me. And they'd constantly blow me off and walk over to him. They'd be like, oh, how you doing? I'd be like, oh, hey, how's it going today? And they'd be like, oh, hey, Mr. Boyer, and they go, talk to him, and I just go out and sweep the gym or do something.
Yeah.
And they'd get done with their sales pitch and be like, all right, you ready, Frank? And he'd be like, I don't own this place.
Yeah.
What? Oh, hey, Matt. Oh, hey, see that door? Yeah, I want to hit you in the rear end.
Yeah.
Because it was offensive. Because I would be, it wasn't that I wasn't like standing there. I would greet them and they would assume, and I still get that now at 41 with, yeah, man, I remember your dad was really into martial arts. No, he wasn't. Oh, no, but he was a painter. No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
They're like, you mean you started both of them? Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought you had like a cousin that ran one. No, yep. Like I used to get offended. Now I kind of understand it's more of a psychological thing of, well, they must have had a parent do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a business, so they must have been given one.
Yeah.
Because not everybody can just do that. I was at the ninth grade center the other day. A bunch of the teens were like, so how hard is it to start a business? I was like, Secretary of State's website, bro.
That's
it
right,
takes
it's
like
really
5
easy.
minutes. I was like, less than $100.
Paperwork wise, super easy. Mentally,
yes.
ugh.
Well, and that's what I tell them. I'm like, the starting, like the legally going online and doing that, I said, that's nothing. I was like, now what comes after that's very hard.
Yes.
And they were like, I thought it was like really, really hard to get it going. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Ben and Jocelyn are 9 and 10, and we went on the state secretary site and did it together.
Yep.
I paid the $8 and we were a legal entity. Like, it's not that hard. But I think people have to write it off as that. Now, one of the things that you've always done that I've always commended you to, and when talking to people, if I were to walk in your store, I would think craft store. I would think exactly what you started out doing. But because of the networking and because of all the stuff you do in the community, everybody knows you make apparel for businesses. People want to give mom a creative shirt, whatever it is, you can do that because you're constantly putting that energy out there. If you just sat at your shop all the time, you probably wouldn't have 80% of the businesses that,
Oh, yeah.
You'd have random people wandering through.
I will say I wouldn't have an employee.
Yeah.
So I was getting so into networking and just being a part of the community that I had to hire somebody because I was always closed on Wednesdays. And in Lincoln County, schools are early released on Wednesdays, and that seems to be when everybody wanted to shop. So it was really hard for me to be closed on Wednesdays out networking when everybody wanted to come in on those days. So I finally pulled the trigger. My assistant, Angie, when her daughter went to she lost her job during COVID, and was fine with it. She's like, it's fine, we'll just stay at home. Their daughter hadn't quite started kindergarten yet. So when she started kindergarten last August, I was like, so Angie, are you going to go back to work now? And she's like, I probably should definitely find something. She also has her own small business. And so it was kind of like a good fit. Like, I said, I can't give you insurance. I can't give you phenomenal pay. I can tell you we're going to have a hell of a good time doing it together type thing. And it's a blast. I can't imagine hiring anybody else. Like, she's literally like a big sister to me. She keeps me organized. Creative people are not organized people most of the time. So she definitely keeps us organized and on track. And yeah, I mean, that's...
Well, it's something too that I think people underestimate with business is we don't... As a business owner, you don't have everything set out like, okay, this month, Mark, I'm going to do this. This month, Mark, I'm going to do this. This month, Mark, I'm going to do this. I want to have 2.3 employees. I want to do this and this. Like sometimes, and I hate to use the popular term of pivoting, but, things come up. You started networking. You're out in the community more. Okay, now you got to hire someone. Yeah. Not what you planned, not even probably what you thought when you started networking.
Right.
And being available more. And I think that's the hard part, too, is I meet so many people that are wanting to start a business, and they feel like they have to have every avenue of it planned. And I'm guilty.
Right.
With launching the coaching business, I've got everything laid out. I've wrote it out on paper a million times. I've talked to myself about it a billion times, my wife, my friends, just kind of laying out the details of how we're going to do it. But like Joey and I just had a discussion before this, we probably don't need to follow that original outline because of the momentum that's being developed.
I feel like that's the mindset of an entrepreneur. Like we feel like we have to get all it's the planning.
Well, and I feel like, yeah,
we want to be in control. That's why we're an entrepreneur. We don't want to work for somebody else.
Exactly. We want it all, for sure. But I feel like so many people are sitting on the sidelines watching because they can't figure out every detail instead of realizing that most of us didn't know the details. Like I had a great game plan when I opened the martial arts school and then realized very quickly that I love it. I love what I do, but it wasn't it wasn't enough. I wanted to do other things, and it taught me a lot of lessons that have helped me build other things. And I feel like that's what Boyer Painting has done. It's taught me a lot. I've learned so much with insurance and employees and marketing and development and all sorts of crazy stuff, too much to list, that now that I'm going to do a third thing, that it's like, okay, these were, I won't want to say practice runs, but these were learning guidelines, and now I'm going to learn something new. And I feel like that's what some of us just can pull the trigger and go for it.
Yeah.
Other people, I feel like I talk to people all the time. I've talked to a couple people that have great business models. They have the clientele, they have everything lined up, and they're like, what should I do? I was like, do it. And she looked at me and she kind of counted it all out. And I was like, you've got everything's there. It's all laid out. You just need to jump.
And I think that is huge. That's a huge thing about entrepreneurship. Like, my husband and I are completely opposite on that. I don't care. Like I already told you, I don't care if my business makes money. I don't, like all these things, but he's the numbers guy. So when I found the storefront, well, it's going to cost you $1,200 in overhead. Can you make $1,200 extra to be able to pay those bills? Well, again, I am doubt-minded. If you're going to doubt me, I'm going to do it. And so I made $1,400 that night selling stuff I already had in stock to say, yep, here, and so when you're a numbers minded, or like that lady, like, she's one of those people that has, just do it. My biggest motto starting this business was do it scared. I don't know how, other than the fact that God always provides. Like, I tell people I've never slept a better day in my life than during that whole process of getting that storefront.
Yeah.
And normally you would think that would be when you were restless nights, worrying about all those things. Nope, I don't know how, other than the Lord will provide. I need a bigger storefront, but you know what? God hasn't showed me where that is yet. So we're just going to sit back and keep waiting.
Well, and the other thing, like you said, you needed to come up with the $1,200. You sold $1,400 worth of stuff. Like, I've always, when having discussions with people about business, or my wife about expanding or buying this or doing that, it's always, well, it's going to cost this much. Whereas I'm like, well, that's one more paint job.
Yeah.
We average $5,000. Say at the time we were probably averaging about $5,000 a paint job. It's like, okay, if we're going to add this space, we need $3,000 a month. I went, okay, so one more paint job a month.
Yeah.
That'll cover it. And that's how I've always looked at it. Okay, we're going to add another crew. It's going to be this much a day, this much a week. So now I have to run this many jobs. And it's one of those that, as in the beginning, it was a learned skill to kind of figure some of that out. But as the business developed, that's just how I thought of everything.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to explain when post-COVID, when the school, last night was packed, but just post-COVID, when there was, I think the one night, 111 people in the building, everybody's like, you need a bigger building. I'm like, yeah, but if you break it down, I'm going to go from $2,000 a month rent to $6,000. I got to relocate. I got to do all this. You're depending on what type of work I got to put in, you're looking at $50,000.
Yeah.
That translates out to a lot more memberships and stuff when you're just got individual memberships, and kids are flaky. Kids love it one moment, then they don't. So it just was never even a thought. Like, I had toyed with the idea of if I could put both businesses in one. I had a couple people reach out. It was like, hey, here's a couple spots I think may work. The Reno's, that location. One of the grandparents at the school is friends with the owner. Was like, hey, he would love to work with you, and we talked about it, and I was like, well, if I could put up a wall, do this, but it was such a huge investment that when I broke it down, I'm like, man, I do this many more paint jobs and this many more students. It's like, it's not feasible for what it is, and for even just what I want it to be.
Yeah.
it wasn't feasible. So the fact you look at the numbers that way too, I think that's something else that people that are truly entrepreneurial look at it that way. Like I don't, when you look at the numbers and moving money around, like you develop such a different relationship with money when you're self-employed than talking to someone that's paycheck.
Yeah.
Not paycheck to paycheck, but just someone that has a
guaranteed
regular job.
Their paycheck is the same every single month, like, or every other week or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, and see, I've talked to people too. I don't think I could ever go back to working for anyone else, not because I can't listen to anyone, that too.
Yeah.
But also because I know how hard it is to run a business. I couldn't sleep at night wondering if my boss was making the right choices to keep me employed. Like that trust level, I respect
huge.
that with my employees. I have a lot of employees. And I respect that. Well, in my opinion, a lot. But I don't think I could do that to where I'm like, hey, what's he doing? Oh, why is he at the casino this week? Is that our paycheck? Like, I would be so worried because I know how hard it can be. That would worry me a lot. And that's something that I think if you have the entrepreneurial mind and that is what you're drawn to do, you just think of things differently. What are things that with as your business had grown and you went from doing the classes and making because you still make that stuff, you still do some of the classes, but as you started venturing more into this side of it, which is probably much more profitable.
Definitely.
And the volume and the return customers and all that. What do you felt like changed with you?
I think again, it goes back to that networking and building those relationships with those people. I am not easily offended if you go get your apparel from somebody else. I know that there's other people in this area as well as this world that do what I do. And I am a firm believer in community over competition. That's why I teach classes. That's why I do those every other week YouTube videos. I want to see other people just as successful as me. And when I first started this, I was not that way. I wanted all the money. I thought I was the best in the world. And not that I don't think that I'm amazing at what I do, but, I was money focused. Whereas now, I love the fact that it gets me involved in the community to where I can serve other people.
Yeah.
And in return, it brings me business.
Well, and I think the people get hung up on you took your work there. Like, I purchase stuff from different people, depending on what it is, like different paint from different vendors, you can't always get what you want from somebody. Sometimes you're looking for a different look, but also it doesn't do the community good if you stick with one. I never got upset. I still have friends to this day. We were at a tournament in Memphis last year. A friend of mine was telling, one of the parents from the school was telling Kendall's dad, like, I've known Matt since we were little kids, and I reached out about martial arts, and he said, dude, there's no way you're going to drive all the way to my school. Here's a great school right in your neighborhood. Yeah. And they've been there for years now. And he's like, it just blew me away that he wasn't like, oh, yeah, man, definitely come to me. You got to come to me. We know each other. When my friends that live outside of Lincoln County are looking for something, I refer them to one of my buddies' schools. I'm like, dude, there's a great school here. If you want to drive to me, cool. Yeah, more power to you, but I know it's not going to last 6 months because you're going to get sick of the drive and you're going to be looking at my buddy's dojo. Yeah. Like even friends in Wentzville, I send them to American Karate. Yeah. You're going to drive past their school to go to mine. Just go to their school. You're going to get great training. You're going to love it. And you're going to get fed up after a couple months of driving all the way to me. You're there. We have things in life. It's at the end of the day, convenience.
Time is money.
Well, and convenience is a big deal, especially when you got multiple kids. You're trying to get them places. Running them out to me because we're old friends I feel very selfish of me to ask people to do. Right. Now, if they insist on it, great. It never lasts. I've had one over the years that lasted for more than 6 months, and I was honestly shocked. Yeah. But we have a long history, so that kept them coming. That was just where they felt comfortable. They did not mind the drive. Yeah. But for most people, I always refer them out. I
think it builds a really good rapport and trust with your customers when you do that, because if somebody comes into me and say they want custom apparel, but they are very adamant that they want only screen printing. Well, I don't do screen printing. So I'm going to tell you, I would be happy to serve you with your embroidery. And I personally do not do screen printing. So here's the options that I do, or here are the people. That just proves that you're not money focused, I think, or like that you're not about, you need all the sales. Because as cliche as it is, nobody likes a jack of all trade because they're not good at any of it.
Yeah.
You know, can't even think of like the actual saying, but
jack of all trades, master of none.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Like no, I want to be really freaking good at embroidery. I can embroider on all of the things for you, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about screen printing, and that's fine. Like, there are plenty of shops that do both. But for me, I would rather just focus on my embroidery and give you the best quality.
Screen printing looks like a total pain in the ass. I'll
and
be
very
honest.
messy. I don't do as crafty as I am. I don't do messes.
I've seen a lot of videos of people I know that do it, or TikToks. You
have to have like a wash station. It
because it blew me away at how they do it and how they line everything up.
It's
and I was like,
cool process, but very, very messy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it. No, and I agree. Like, I'll have customers, and it weirds them out, but like, we've gotten to a size, and a lot of your larger reputable contractors are, to where small jobs are really hard to do. By the time I have an employee come in, they clock in, they grab the van, fuel in the van, everything like that. If there's something really little, I can't give someone an ethical price, and I'm not going to tell them, well, I have a $500 minimum. I want $500 to paint that wall.
Right.
Like, we literally last week had a customer wanted less than that wall right there painted.
Yeah.
Less than that, little bitty one. It was the first entrance to your subdivision. It was on the other side of the middle school.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's at the middle. Yeah, the other side of middle school, and they could get anyone to come out.
Oh well, I did refer those people to you. So
did you? Well, thank you.
Too bad they didn't take your business.
They did. The little wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I was able to make it work.
Be sure you track that in our networking groups, please.
I will make sure Casey does that. I threw because they said no one would take it.
Yeah.
And it was literally. Man, it was it was not even 6 foot of wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no time to do it. So what I do with that stuff, if someone calls and it's just one little thing, I will give it to one of my foremen. I'll bid it, tell them this is how much it's going to be. We can get the paint, or you can get the paint. Most of the time when it's really little like that, they have the product.
Right.
Which is another thing I hate to do. I don't like to use their product. And I gave it to one of my guys to go over there on a Saturday. I was like, hey, you want to take care of this? Perfect. Makes them a little side money, helps me help the customer, and it doesn't really hurt me any, as long as it's local. Now, I'm not going to drive to St. Louis to do that, but that's a way of helping them when it is a little job.
Yep.
I get calls. I've had customers call, and I'm sure you've had this too. I've had customers, I need a bathroom painted. Okay, something really little. I don't want to do it, but we do it. While we're there, they're like, I own 27 rental properties. I've been looking for a painter, and it's like, oh, this was an audition.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. So that's and that's happened to me so much. I went to look at brick for a lady. She was wanting to do the brick on the front of her house, and she couldn't come up with the pattern or what she wanted. I happened to be at home. I was like, yeah, I can come out this afternoon. Drove out there. While I was standing there talking to her, ends up she's a home flipper. Had 9 properties going, wanted me to look at all of them, wanted to send me floor plans, all sorts of stuff. And then her dad was there, and he kind of stepped around looking awfully grumpy. Ends up, he's on the board for a couple different things. I didn't know it. He, from what the carpenters told me, he had sold a business for about $100 million. Looked like an average Joe standing there. He owned a bunch of stuff. He's like, I need bids on this, this, and this. I drove from there, which was in like Ladue, out to North County to look at a church for him that we ended up painting. Like, it was ridiculous to go in to just help with like picking a color on the front of the house for this brick or a design.
Yeah.
Turned into like, it was several $100,000 worth of work. Like, every one of those paint jobs was about 20 grand after that in seconds. Now, I could have blown them off and been like, no, I don't got time today to come look at that little job, because it was little, but it was a solid referral from a respected customer. Turned into that, and I bet I think you and I have talked about stories like that where someone comes in, gets 1 or 2 items, and then comes back with 50.
I think that goes back to that whole jack of all trades thing. Like, it's not about what you know. It's about who you know. Oh, yeah. And you never know who that one person you're talking to, who they know, and then it just goes from there. I mean, I had a local hunt club that came in, didn't know me from Adam, put their trust in me, and now less than 6 months later, I've gotten multiple referrals and new clients because that one fairly large hunt club, put their trust in me. They didn't know me from Adam. He's like, we'll give this a go, and I hope it turns into a long-term relationship. Well, me too, sir. Like, me too. So,
Well, and that's one thing people forget too, is you can have a business and you can tell everyone about it and you can promote yourself, you can market it, you can go to networking, but then at the end you have to act on it too. You have to turn the product around in a good time with a good quality and then wrap it up with the good customer service at the end so they tell their friends. But then the key part too that blew me away when I started building the painting business, because it was so different from the martial arts. Martial arts, people come in, sign up.
Yeah.
I would respond to them on Facebook or I would go do events. But with the painting, everybody would get tagged in a post. And I would go bid it expecting the homeowner to tell me, and you're like the 17th guy here today. Because sometimes I'll like leave the other bids laying out or the cards laying out. It's like, let me know I'm not numero uno.
Yeah.
And so many of them be like, wow, you're the only one that showed up. I'm like, what do you mean? The other guy was tagged 27 times in that post as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't call me back. Wow. Like, you have to execute on it. I've worked with different advertising people, and they'll tell me that customers dump tens of thousands of dollars a year into advertising on social media and then will not respond when the customers message them or comment.
Yeah.
And they get so frustrated because the customer will come to them and be like, hey, man, I don't think this is working out. I'm just not getting the results. And they'll be like, really? Because here's your messenger and you haven't responded to 20 people.
Right.
Whereas with me, I've got messages from them going, bro, do you even sleep? Like, how the hell did you do that? Well, I got to go to the bathroom and saw the message, so I responded real quick.
Yeah,
They're like,
turn it down.
You didn't go back to bed? I'm like, well, I did after I sent the message, but I wanted to make sure I was the first one to respond, and I knew at 3 a.m. I'd be the first guy. So many people won't act on that. So when they do get a big account, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm just so swamped. And then they make excuses and tell them, well, I can't get to you, or I can't do this, or they build a relationship with someone maybe to where this person funnels work to them, but then they can't keep up with the demand.
Right.
And they kind of screw that stuff up. And I've made those mistakes in the past. I learned at one point to start telling builders when they would reach out, how many houses you do? Well, we do 20 houses a year. No, thank you. What do you mean, no thank you? Because most people are like, ooh, 20 houses, that's so much money. I'm like, I don't have the facility, the crew size to handle that. If you were more around 6 to 8, that would work well for us, but I can't really take you on right now. I appreciate it. And some of them are just dumbstruck.
Yeah.
But like I told them, what good does it do to me to overpromise and underdeliver?
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing. Even right now, like we're, 13 days from Christmas. I still have people coming in. And my last day of business is the 20th. That's when my kids are out of school, and I'm not working when my kids are out of school. So, everything is going to be done and ready. But people were in there on the 1st, and I was telling them 2 to 3 weeks. I promise you it will be done on the 20th, and it has to be picked up by the 20th. But it might be a week. But I know that if I tell you that it'll be a week, then one of my kids will get sick, or I'll get sick, like now. But I was like, nope, I promised to have it to you by the 20th. Most of those, I had one guy, he didn't want to pay the rush fee. He wasn't really, too worried about it. It was a quick, easy project. I had 10 more minutes before the kids got on the bus for school that morning, threw it on there. He comes in to pick it up. He's like, I thought you told me it'd be January. Yeah, well, I can't just sit on something. So because I had it, you paid, like, you got your work done, But I would much rather, like you said, over-deliver, like, boom, here's your stuff in a day, rather than that. And that is a huge, that's something that does make me stand out to other apparel shops. I've had people come in and say they've had stuff on order for 6 months. I could never imagine sitting on somebody's money for 6 months. Like, not even, like, I'm sure, like, with you with builders, you probably know a house is coming type thing. Like, no, I could not. Like, when it gets to past 2 weeks, I'm on pins and needles doing everything I can to get your order done.
Well, and one of the problems I think with that is so many sales guys, so much content. is taken out of context, and they always tell you sell, 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 and then figure out how to deliver on the back end.
Yeah.
Well, you got to have a plan though.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you're going to sell, 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 you better have someone coming in to assist you with it. That'd be like me promising every house I go to, I can get to them next week. Customers try to corner me every time I bid. When can you get to us?
Yeah.
Once you sign your bid, pay your deposit, then we'll have dates provided. But right now we're booking for this date. But I always explain to them, it's a big but. I bid between 10 to 20 jobs a week consistently year round. At any given time, I have 1,000 active bids in my system. I, a lot of times, will wake up on a Monday morning to 15 emails. And they all may be $10,000, $20,000 paint jobs that are all 2 weeks. And I may go from telling you, hey, when we're standing here right now on a Friday afternoon giving you a bid, I could get you in 2 weeks. When you wait a full 2 weeks to get back to me and you're like, whoa, I thought you'd get me in this week. It's like, well, now we're booked out 18 weeks.
Right now, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, we're like way out now.
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen? Like I told you when I was there. And I attribute a lot of it not to people being negligent. They get a lot of bids. They're waiting on another bid. They're, you know, there's always that one person that's got a friend of the family that can do it.
Of course.
You know, you probably run into it. Oh, well, I've got a Cricut. I can make that.
I literally had somebody bring me 31 bags, and it was a gentleman. He's like, my mom had an embroidery machine. I just figured she could do it. I'm like, not with that big old metal frame. She can't, like, but I can.
It's different.
You know? So, yeah, it's definitely, but all the time. Or I tried to do it myself, and I just ran out of time. Like, I experienced that personally. Like, Christmas is in 13 days, and I haven't made anything for my kids for Christmas, but all these other kids are getting stuff made by me for Christmas, you know? You don't prioritize your time when it's your job versus it's a hobby thing. So I get a lot of last minute things based off.
Well, and I find a lot of people too want to take a hobby that they call a business. And they're really, in my eyes, there's some like qualifications before I consider it like a business.
If you ain't paying taxes, it ain't a business.
Well, and even that, it's just there's levels to it. And
Yeah.
I realize I'm not at the top of that level. I see people all the time. I'm like, wow, I wonder how they do it. But you see people too that want to take it to that next level. And then it's like, are you ever open? Are you ever here? Do you ever actually work? Because I constantly see you everywhere else doing everything else. Or there's always an excuse.
It. That's me.
Well,
a lot of people say that about me.
Well, yeah, but you got people at your store. Your store's open.
Yeah.
But you'll get people that have a business, and then you reach out to them, and you don't hear back from them for a month. You know, not saying we've never been, you know, that does happen,
Definitely.
especially with social media now. I've always found it frustrating. I'll have people message about tuition questions on TikTok because that's where they're used to messaging people. I'll never look at those messages. I do now that we're using it actively.
Yeah.
I had someone Snapchat about classes once. When I had a Snapchat randomly, it was like, hey, are you guys running specials? Blah, blah, blah. I've met you guys at this one point. Found us on there. Every once in a while I'll sit down and I'll just go through every messenger service I have and double, triple check, go through every email.
And you gotta check those spam emails too. I've found very important, like potential clients, and I was like, oh well, thanks email for filtering that one out because that was bad.
GoDaddy got hacked once years ago around the holidays. They got hacked, and when I would pull up my website, great advice for anybody in business, something I learned the hard way: Google your business and then click on your website. Don't type your website URL in and go directly to it. I would type my URL in and go check my website. Everything looks good. I had not gotten any trial requests on the school. Going on like month 3, I was like, all right, this is interesting. Google ads were becoming a thing, Google AdWords, I think. So I set up a meeting with Google. And they called me, we're going over it. And the guy's like, what'd you say you did again? I was like, it's a martial arts school, kicking, punching. He's like, your website is Michael Kors handbags. What? He goes, GoDaddy had a hack. You might want to look into it. I had been checking my website by typing the URL. I had never went to the GoDaddy link, the Google link on there.
Yeah.
It was sending everyone to a Michael Kors thing. I had not gotten any leads in 3 months. And I thought it was really weird, but it was at the Christmas time of the year where that kind of used to slow down for us. Doesn't anymore, but the online stuff kind of slows down. So I didn't think much of it. And we figured it out. We got the website straightened out. You know, GoDaddy offered me like $5 coupon or something, which they got hacked. I felt there should have been more there, but it is what it is. But that really messed me up because I hadn't checked it. I had never thought of it. So now I go in once a month and Google it because I've got messages on social media to the wrong business. Hey, want to talk, blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, this is the painting page. And I'll go in and send them a message to my personal or whatever. But you have to be aware of it because you have to act on it.
Yeah.
And I find so many people don't do that. Like they want to take their business to the next level, but they still want to treat it like a hobby.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, which are you trying to do here?
Exactly. I find one of the biggest struggles is separating personal from business, especially when it comes to social media. Yeah. I get messages on my personal Facebook message all the time about business, and I want to portray it professionally, but also to the fact of like, this is my personal Facebook. Like, this is friends, family. These are the pictures of my beautiful children. Like, and I actually, because Facebook is very strange with messages. I don't know for your business or not, but like for me, it wouldn't ever tell me when somebody would message me. Nope. So I actually ended up turning off my Facebook messages for my business, and it's a email. And it's shocking how many people don't want to send you an email. Yep. And I'm like, it's the same as texting. It really is. Like, send me an email. So now they'll still find me and message my personal thing, and and that's fine. You can message me your order details, and I have just said now, please forward this full request to my email, or my business phone accepts text messages. Text it there, because so many people want to text, and that's fine. That's why I switched my number to a mobile number for the store. But I'm like, and Angie, my assistant, says all the time, I don't know how you keep it all straight. And I'm like, I don't. Like, it's I miss hard. Things, and it is so hard. So that's why I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, I just want to tell you, oh yeah, I can be happy to do that. Let me send you an invoice. But then squirrel moments happen and it's gone, So I'm like, if you send me an email or even a text message on that phone that stays at the store 24/7, I know that I'm going to check it when I'm at the store, and I have the moment to either be at the computer and I can send you an invoice right there from the computer, or I'm at the store enough that I can, look at the store phone and I can send you an invoice. But it is so hard.
See, and I used to get real worked up about that at the beginning. I used to get that a lot. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, can you please message business page so I can keep it straight? So what I started doing, two things I'm working on. With everything that we're growing right now, my phone just explodes all the time.
How'd that gym day go the other day?
Huh?
I said, how'd that gym day go the other day? You said you ended
I
up
just
leaving.
Walked out. Yeah, no, I just went home. I was like, I just cannot. I'm too distracted this morning. It ruined it. Yeah. But what I do is, what I'm working on doing is only getting on my socials and checking all my messages at certain times of the day when I'm in front of my computer.
Yep.
Because what I'm bad about is I'll check them while I'm driving. Like, I'll pull up at a homeowner's house to go give a bid, or pull up where we're working, check on a cruise. I'll check stuff. I'll be like, okay. 3 days later, I'm like, crap, I didn't respond to that.
Yep.
And then I play, where was it sent?
Yep.
Because
or
I've
leave
learned,
it as or remark it as unread or whatever, and then it still gets buried.
Well, and I forget to even do that because I have the best. I plan on responding to it, but I've given up because our businesses are us. They're gonna message your person.
Right.
Now, what I will do is, if it's someone that I know also knows Casey, I will tell them, please message Casey to schedule a bid.
Yeah.
Or what I'll do is screenshot it, send it to her, and be like, message them and sub a bid, because
and that's what I do. I screenshot it and send it to Angie. I'm like, we need an invoice.
Well, because I'm really bad if I don't get it in the system.
Yep.
Because people are like, oh, just text me a bid real quick. No, I got to send you an invoice. And that, what I started doing with it too is people that would just message on social media I didn't know, that were just trying to get 3 bids just to get them, that were not really interested. If I tell them, excellent, I'd love to give you a bid, I'm more than happy to do it over photos. I need your phone number, email address, personal address, everything that I would need on a bid.
Yeah. They don't want to do it.
And that weans them out, because that's now too hard. It's like, okay, now you didn't actually want
and that's almost
anything.
The thing about, like, if you really want this, I need you to actually send me a legitimate form of contact, not just through Facebook Messenger. Like, send my business an email,
Yeah.
And even people like comment, and I'm like, send an email or a text. Here's the store number. Here's the email.
Like, they think that you're, and there's nothing wrong with it. I get it. It's people.
Right.
They think they're your one and only customer, and that's all you have to worry about. They don't realize that you're trying to get orders ready, your family ready, your kids here, this here.
Well, and
got
for
12
me,
phone calls.
my business name is so long. Definitely should have planned that out better. That I think it's easier for them to remember. They're like, oh, Julie instead of Crafty Midwestern Mommy.
That's why we just call you Crafty.
I know.
Well, so I did
I'm
the
gonna
same
make new
thing.
name tags.
When we opened the school, I wrote my LLC, and this is another, advice I would give any business owners: make sure your legal entity name is short.
Yes.
So we did it, and it was Boyers '(S) Academy of Martial Arts. That was all wonderful until we did a big fundraiser, and I had all the kids have the checks made out to the school. Then we gave each kid a personal check or whatever, and that's just the way I did it. I didn't know any better. And I'm not kidding you. We sold so many Teachers Pizza, we had a stack this big, and I had to sit and write Boyers Academy of Martial Arts. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So any of my others now, anytime I do an LLC or something, I make it the shortest version I can. Like,
Yeah.
I
know.
remember
I've even
doing that.
remember I talked to you like probably a year ago about I think I'm gonna rebrand just the embroidery side as like Midwest embroidery or something. Like it's got to be shorter.
You want something catchy and short for
Although
that.
I do love when my husband makes calls for the business and he says, "This is Drew with Crafty Midwestern Mommy," and I'm like,
see, I mess it up still to this day. I'll be like Midwestern Crafty Mommy.
Yeah, it's okay.
I get it backwards.
Everybody or Crafty Midwestern, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and Mommy, I'm
Yeah.
a mama for.
No, and that's the thing though. Sometimes those like there's things I'll talk with business owners about, and they'll be personally identified or married to a certain idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on what your goal is. And there's sometimes, like we said, you got to make changes.
Yeah.
There are things that come up and you're like, you know what? That's not working. I, at one point, got some stickers made, and the lady that made the stickers moved the Boyer Academy to the middle. It used to be around the outside.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that looks so much better. Immediately, I'm like, can I have the font? Can I have this? Can I have that? I'll pay you for it, because she just charged me for stickers. I was like, that's our new logo. And I stuck with it because it just looked, I never thought of it until she did it. So we kind of adjusted the logo a little
Kind of like
bit.
going to a single color
Yeah.
on your logo.
Yeah, and no, seriously, like the uniforms you did,
Yeah.
going to that, and it just looks so good.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's areas where you have to modern. Or
Well, and that's
have
like
to
my logo,
adjust.
just like I just had it redone because it was the state, it's always been the state of Missouri, but it was very detailed. And then as I found myself like sponsoring events and whatever, they're like, it was very multicolor, and they were like, we need just a single color. And there was no possible way to just make it a single color. So I think that's something that would be a big, like something I would recommend to somebody who's trying to start a business is get a professionally made logo.
Yes.
From somebody who
Well,
is
when
printing
you-
your logos and stitching your logos. Please, for everything holy, don't go ask your friend to draw it on Procreate. Don't go create it in Canva. You can create renditions. You can get what you like, but please have a professional. And it's not that expensive. It's a tax write-off.
Well, when you did your
Yeah.
first digital billboard, I remember talking to you about it and being like, it's really hard
Yep.
to tell what it is. Even
Not
that
now.
big.
Have you
no,
seen it
not
now?
No, they look great. But that
It
was
says
something.
custom embroidery, and that's
Yep.
all there is.
And that's something people don't think about. I
Yeah.
got some really good advice. We had a photographer working at the school, and we were talking about branding. And he was like, there is a gradation to my logo, the color.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've never changed this in that, but all my other stuff is different. Well, sometimes it doesn't have the gradient to it. He goes, look at Coca-Cola, look at Pepsi, look at all these different companies, and they had all went away from a gradation. They were all going to more of a very simple trademark, marketable image for their logo that was very simple. And I remember talking to this guy, and we were discussing the fact that, if Coca-Cola is doing it, if Pepsi's doing it with their logo, that's how you should do it. And then I see these people make these logos, and I'm like, okay, your cousin drew that, or somebody you knew drew it, and you think it looks really cool, but have you ever stepped outside of your business and looked back in on it?
Right.
One of my biggest compliments with the painting company was after we started running the van, or running my trailer, I'd get these older sign painters stop me. And one guy stopped me at Quick Trip one day, and he's like, man, I've been painting signs for 50 years. I love your logo. He said, that's something I would have painted 30 years ago on the side of a truck. He said, it's so visible. It's easy to read. I'm not questioning what you do.
Right.
So me and the kids actually play a game in the car. We'll be rolling up on people, and I'll be like, all right, let's guess what they do.
That's right.
And we'll play, let's
Yep.
guess what the heck they do.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous sometimes when you finally get all the way on their bumper and you're tailgating them, you can read the fine print.
Exactly.
And it's
Well, and that was
that's
like my
horrible.
first logo. You couldn't hardly read Crafty Midwestern Mommy, so we definitely made the print easier. And then I've always kept the shape of Missouri, kept it with the stitching, kind of to tie in the fact that we stitch it. But yeah, I learned that the hard way. Sometimes you gotta. I love the saying like, you only fail when you don't get back up. Okay, your first logo sucked. That's fine. So go out there. I reached out to the same lady that made it the first time that I paid $500 to. And I said, I don't care how much it costs, but I need my logo redone. I'm doing too much stuff. This one's too busy. I need it to be simplified. Another $250 later. Here it is. But best $250 spent, because now people can see my logo. They can read it, they can understand it.
Well, and with you sponsoring stuff, same as we do, the logo's on the back of T-shirts about this big. It's got to be readable.
Literally an inch and a half is usually as big as we make them. So
and it's got to be readable.
Yeah.
Even on vehicles, though, you got to think you're rolling down the road at a certain speed. It's got to be readable. And I think when the graphics and the wraps all came out, everybody went crazy with these over-the-top graphics, and you couldn't read it. Still, there's people that still haven't quite got the memo on the fact that
driving around with the big old
graphics,
American flags on your truck.
Well, but that's readable now. You can still read boy you're painting.
That's right.
But some people, it's so hard, or there's so much writing, there's no way.
Yeah.
Absolutely no way. One of the things I learned with our billboard off South Lincoln, very rarely, unless you live in Stonebridge, do people come to me and be like, hey, I see your billboard. Parents, friends will see it when they come through town. I'll get a text message, someone out of state's going up to Iowa for a tournament. They'll be like, hey,
I remember the first time my kids noticed it, and they were like, oh, that's Boyer Academy. That's where we go.
But the kids noticed it.
Yeah.
So that's when I started tweaking the designs. I put Ben on it, which I still have that billboard vinyl folded up in my basement of Ben. We can open it up, and we got an 18-foot Ben. And I started then marketing that billboard, because I would go places, kids would be like, you're the guy with the billboard. Go to schools, wherever kids that come into school be like, Mom, this is one of the billboards. She's like, I know, you keep crying about coming here. We came to his school.
Yeah.
And they're like, yes. And I realized that the parents are sidetrack driving, the kids aren't. So I need bright colors, I need people with martial art uniforms, I need stuff that attracts the kids, and I quit marketing it. So our new one that's going up, it's an American flag, and it's all the Team USA. I got to get a higher resolution shot of us, but it's all of us with our medals and our belt that we got up there on. And then it says just some basic stuff at the top and a logo. It's very simple, easy to read, but there's a bunch of kids on there that other kids are going to recognize.
Oh, definitely.
People in martial art uniforms, there's some medals, the flag, it's going to get attention. And people, I think, forget too, who are you marketing to?
Yeah.
Me, I want the kids are going to tell mom and dad, no, I want to go to Boyer Academy. The kids are like, oh yeah, we know where your school is. I'll ask adults, hey, you guys know where school is? Yeah, you're on 47 or something. Kids can tell you right where I'm at. No, you're right down there by Honey Badger. Big logo.
Yeah.
Love the French fries next door.
Yep.
They
buy the ice cream
know
shop.
Yes, the kids know it. So that's when I said, okay, that billboard is not really visible to mom and dad, but it is the kids. Now, an online Facebook ad, those are for mom and dad.
Definitely.
Because it's even in when you advertise the thing, it's not going to kids.
Right.
I want mom and dad to see that one. So people find that mistake of, who are you marketing to?
And where?
And yes, and where? I wanted to be known locally. I went to a conference with Grant Cardone. He talked about omnipresence. Do whatever you can. Be here, A, B, C, D. You want people talking about you all the time. You want people seeing you, hearing you. You want to be on their phone, you want to be on their Google, you want to be popping up on their games they play. You want to be everywhere so your name is remembered. And I found that when we did that with consistency, then everything started to fill up.
Yeah.
But you also had to go out and meet them.
I was going to say that.
You had to be driving around town. You had to be a part of local things that were going on, whether it's 5Ks or trash pickup, all the different things all of us do.
Yep.
It's all layering. And I feel like some people sit back, run an ad, and then go, I don't know, just not working. It's well, first of all,
I actually have a really good story about that.
Yeah.
There was so when I was online only before I got the storefront, I had somebody doing the exact same thing I did, making all the cute custom gifts and stuff. And she lived in Florida. And I kid you not, she would copy and paste everything that I posted into her group every single day. Like, it didn't matter, because we did the exact same thing. We had access to the same, like, drives and designs and all these things. So she's making the same things as me. She's literally posting word for word exactly the same thing that I'm posting. And one day I remember she says, and I saw it. I laughed it off. Okay, that's cool. You know, thanks for thinking so highly of me. And she goes, I just don't understand why, you know, you're getting all this success. And nothing's working for me. I'm like, you don't have a heart behind it. You're literally not putting in any work. Like, not to knock on like MLMs and, you know, those not pyramid schemes, but, you know, those direct sales things. Like, it's just not the same. You're literally going into a back office, saving a photo, posting it, and using their verbiage. Like, it is not the same when you have deep heart connections with these businesses. Like, I don't do this for a paycheck. Yeah. I do this because I love seeing people say, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'd put a name in a football in a duffel bag this weekend, and the lady picked it up yesterday, and you would have thought I stitched out the Mona Lisa for her. She thought it was the greatest thing. The first thing she did was go to Google and leave me a Google review and all these, and I'm like, it was just a name in a football. Like,
see, I always felt that way about painting. Like, I loved the presentation of the paint job at the end. Yeah. I'd get their vacuum out, or when I was painting, I had one in my truck, and I would vacuum the house, make sure everything was straightened up. Because I always kind of liked it when they're like, I'll be back at 3. Yeah. And the guys would be like, well, we got till 3:34 if we need it. I'm like, no, we got to have it done. When they walk in at 3, I want everything swept up. I don't want drop cloths out. I want the presentation of ta-da. Yep. And that meant more to me. They'd hand me a check. I'm like, all right, cool, put the check in my pocket. But I knew job was done. I did a good job. And it's taken years to realize, like, that's really why I did it too.
Right, yeah.
But, you know, and like you said, with the heart in it, put energy out, energy in is going to be the key to it any day of the week. Yeah. I've had martial arts schools do the same thing, where their staff reached out and was like, hey, our head instructor just basically told us, watch your page, and if you do it, we do it the next week. Yeah. Great flattery, but they're like, it's not really working for us. I'm like, well, that's because you're just grabbing the little bit I put out there. You're not actually catching like all the work that went behind it. We didn't just post it there. There was weeks and months of stuff behind it, other people sharing. Like, they're not getting the full picture. Right. And
I would just say, like, as a disclaimer, there's all kinds of people out there that are going to tell you, these business coaches, they can teach you all the things to be, no, like, if it's not in your heart, if it's not what you want to do, it's probably not going to make it. No
algorithm's going to help you if you don't love what you do.
Yeah, you got to put in the work. That's the thing, is so many people are instant gratification. Yeah. Like you and I, we go to the gym every single day. We're not seeing results every single day. Just like when we're putting in the work at work. You know, we don't get to see it every day. But we know in the end, we're going to see something type thing. And I think that's huge. For sure. Well, we're going to wrap up. It's about our time. So I appreciate you coming on. This was great. This is kind of why the whole purpose of doing this is to get to sit down and have these conversations that I don't feel you get to at networking or the chamber meetings, or in passing. Sometimes it's this is that. I mean, we do more than others because the kids are at the school. Yeah. I buy all sorts of stuff from you. We network together. We're always running into each other. But this was great. So thank you guys for checking out the podcast today. We'll have more from Julie in the future, and I hope everybody's having a great week. This is the Lincoln County Podcast.